Hey ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
what if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, a legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
Welcome to Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. He is Jalen Rose.
What up, dog?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What do we do?
It's been almost 6 years. We like to give the fine individuals that support this program exactly what they want when they need it.
Exactly.
Shout out.
We've been talking about this for years. You hate healthy players resting. You and all of your old players. You know, I played 83 games one season when I got traded to Chicago. Michael Jordan played 82 games in his last season. These guys need to toughen up. Now it's all anybody's talking about. Adam Silver's writing mean letters to the owners, trying to get them to change their policies. We all recognize that it's a problem, but no one's really come up with a good solution. Jalen Rose.
Yes, sir.
Adam Silver calls your phone. First of all, you wouldn't pick up because you never pick up phone calls. I know this about you. But
Listen to who's talking.
After you get the message and you call him back, he says, Jalen, what should I do about this resting healthy players issue? It's a very complex problem to solve. What would be your advice?
The first word is sacrifice, because the reason why players make the exorbitant amount of dollars that they make, have the profiles that they have, get a chance to play this great game on nationally televised situations for record-breaking audiences consistently, is because when there was a game scheduled, the forefathers of the NBA actually showed up to perform and didn't upset the fans to where the NBA, as it could have in the 80s, could now look like the popularity of boxing. Mm-hmm. Now the NBA is so popular it rivals football. The players have to take a personal pride. Players have to take on a personal accountability that it means something to me when people show up and spend their hard-earned money to pay and watch me play. Yep. I'm going to treat it like it's the first time each person in the stands gets a chance to see me. And if I'm not going to perform, it's because I'm unable to perform. That's where it starts first. I'm going to give you an example since you say all of the old players. I didn't play but 10 years ago. I'm not that old. And you're with me every day. I played growing up outside. I played on concrete. I played on cement. I played the backyard. I played the park. I played the YMCA. I played AAU. I played on rubber courts. I played on milk crates. Played 4 years in high school, 3 years in college, and 13 years in the NBA. I'm all right. Do you see me hobbling?
A little bit.
I'm fine.
Little hobble.
I know, but I'm not crippled.
No.
Okay. And I represent the workmanlike player, in my opinion. So that's who I'm talking to. The second thing I would ask, each team has a highest paid player.
Yep.
You usually hope in a salary cap sport that he's your best player.
Hopefully. Or the GM's on the hot seat. One of those two things is happening. Yep.
If that's the case, that individual has an obligation to show up every night. Whether I'm playing in Chicago and we got 9 wins, the fans expect me to show up on the road and at home. If you don't do that, one, what type of message does it send to the other 14 guys? What are you going to say to the young folks when they don't want to practice? They got a hangnail. They don't want to get out there. So now if you're diluting your own message by not playing DNP rest, what you going to say to me? So now that creates a whole different domino throughout the locker room.
But you're looking at this as a player, as you do, and you're saying, as a player, I want to set an example. There's an obligation I have to the fans. There's an obligation I have to the team to be there and perform. However, I'm looking at this like an executive, okay? Like I'm producer Jacoby now. What can Adam Silver do to change this? Like, what policy can be put in place when they speak about this at the meeting?
A couple of things the league can do. One, when you hear about the medicine and the doctors who acknowledge that players are more likely to get injured in back-to-back games, please somebody tell me or show me from this season, because there have been about 250 games missed due to rest, where 5 years ago it was only 8. Show me a player that got hurt on a back-to-back game.
I'm sure it's happened. But
because there was a game the night before that wouldn't have gotten injured otherwise. Show me one.
I don't have that.
Okay. Here's what the league could do. You find the team. Just like when players don't show up for media availability, you find them.
Here's the thing. We all did this, though. We all were in 5th or 6th or 7th grade, pretended to be sick. Mom leaves, and then we have a day off. Right? So you can just pretend that you are injured.
Or mom can leave, go to work, and then you could try to have parties at the house while your parents are gone.
Did that all the time. But you see what you're setting yourself up into a situation where they just pretend to be injured and then rest.
Here's why players won't pretend to be injured. Because it's virtually impossible, because the doctor clears you and the doctor works for the team. So, here's how you avoid that. As a player, it's almost like having a used car. What do they call it? A Carfax. Okay? The more accidents and the more dings to the vehicle, it lowers the value. Mm-hmm. Look at an athlete the exact same way. All of a sudden, I'm out with an ankle. Yep. I'm out with a knee. Yep. I'm out with an elbow. I'm out with a shoulder. You look at that sample size over a few years, it's like he's injury prone. That affects my bread. Here's the other thing players ain't going to do. I'm supposed to play 35 minutes and you're trying to rest me? You want me to play 22 just for the fans? No, you're going to mess up my stats.
See, that's something that's interesting to me, the stat argument. The stat argument is interesting to me because let me just throw this out there as a potential solution. If you are considered to be healthy, you finished the previous game.
That's when you know a player's healthy. Say that again?
You finished the previous game.
Okay.
But we all know things can happen off the court to injure you. You can get injured in practice.
Pau Gasol is the only player I know that got hurt and could not compete in a game this year, and it wasn't during the game. It was during warm-ups. It's notable when it happens. Players don't get hurt in practice.
If you finish the previous game, I'm going to throw this out as a policy, and the league or a governing body has identified you as a healthy rest, then your stats count as zeros for that game. Would that be enough to change this behavior?
It 100% would. And me and you talked about this with Steve Nash years ago. Mm-hmm. And we both love him the same. That was my teammate in Phoenix. My nickname for him is Two-Time. As he got older in his career, and I saw the Lakers bringing in other guards, he was like, I ain't about to get out there and play 20 minutes and have 6 points and 2 assists. That's killing my stats.
Yep.
He doesn't physically have to say it. I was showing you that was going to take place. You're like, no way. You just mad because he's still playing and getting a check and you not. I'm like, no. He ain't about to mess up his stats. And so if a player is healthy and does not play, the league should say all zeros for that night.
Yep. It's interesting because then a player is forced to literally put the team over his own numbers, which is an interesting fork in the road. It's like, it is best for the team if I do not play in this game, if I'm LeBron James. However, getting all zeros in one game, that's not great for my stats. That's not great for my legacy. Which way should I go with this?
And you know what happens in cases like We always create stats for anything. Score 10 plus points in X amount of games.
Sure.
Hasn't been scoreless in certain games. Hasn't been without a field goal in certain games. When a player is healthy and chooses not to play, first off, you got to remember, the team is governed by the league. The staff works for the team. The trainer also clearly works for said team. He's going to acknowledge whether 15 guys are healthy to go that night.
But if I'm the owner and I want LeBron James to rest for the playoffs, I'll just tell the trainer to make up a strained calf.
And that becomes an issue for that team and that player, almost like the NFL, because you're now doctoring an injury report.
You know how I am pro resting players. I think it makes perfect sense. It's just a sound strategic decision. Do you know when my stance started to change a little bit? Starting to mess with ESPN's money. I was like, these are big games. Like, ESPN's putting up a lot of money for the rights to broadcast these games. And guess what? Now we got Jalen doing countdown, and this is the game that we're showing.
So let me give everybody the tomato versus tomato theory. It's all about how it's being framed. When it's a good team, I'm about to give everybody the behind. Let me pull you behind the curtain.
Oh, let's go behind the curtain.
When it's a contending team, Cavs, Spurs, Warriors, they call it resting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
When it's a lottery team, Lakers, Phoenix, they call it shutting down.
Shut them down. Shut them down.
So you mean to tell me that the Lakers and the Phoenix, what are they trying to do? Oh, they're trying to win the championship. They're trying to give their team the best chance they can to get the best position in the lottery so they can ultimately win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. It's the exact same thing. You're still cheating the fans.
Yep. Jalen.
What up, Dep?
The Celtics won a championship about 10 years ago.
Did they?
And they were planning some sort of like celebratory vacation this summer. Rajon Rondo not inviting Ray Allen. What? Because they were salty about the way that Ray Allen left to go from Boston to Miami. Is that cool?
If they were doing something on wax for the fans and the families and it related to the physical NBA product, I would say they were being petty.
Mm-hmm.
But since they're taking a vacation, which normally takes place with people you get along with.
Sure. Unless you're on reality TV.
It totally makes sense for him not to be invited if they're not going to be on the same page and seeing eye to eye.
You can buy plane tickets and go wherever you want, with whoever you want. I like Scott Pollard. Scott Pollard was like, no one invited me. No one's talking about me. I think that Rajon Rondo is a little petty doing a whole article and giving quotes about it and kind of like making it into a bigger thing than it needs to be. If you're going on vacation, you can invite whoever you want. You don't have to invite the whole staff. I bet Doc Rivers isn't going. I know you saw this. Steph Curry in Oklahoma City lining up for a jump ball, and then it happened, Jalen. What happened?
Hold me back!
Samaj Christian.
Who?
Samaj
Who?
Christian. First time I've ever said his name.
Got it.
They were fighting for position. Steph let it go. And then Steph gave him a little shove. And then all sorts of hold me back things broke loose. Of course, Westbrook found his way into the fray. Of course, Draymond Green found his way into the fray. After you watched it, what was your reaction?
Typical NBA huff and puff and blow your house down. We always joke about we're not encouraging violence.
No.
We just don't encourage pretending to fight either.
Exactly.
It will become a point where there's somebody that comes across like, hey, fellas, let's get back to playing ball.
Yes.
Like you do at the park. But the difference between the park and the NBA, the players in the NBA are other professionals. Therefore, they have so much to lose also. So the skirmish, the altercation, whatever's going to end at that night with all of you guys going home and having millions of dollars in the bank and worrying about the next game, as opposed to when you're at the park or YMCA, you don't know this guy's real name. You've been calling him a nickname. You've seen him at the park every day. You don't know if he's going to go pop the trunk on you.
You don't. Here's what I loved about this exchange. What actually happened in the game when they resettled the jump ball?
Steph got that three before the half.
Uh-huh. Let Steph wide open, hits a three before the half, and then runs into the tunnel.
That's ideal. I remember seeing Steve Smith do that one time. I was in the 8th grade, State Fairgrounds, Detroit Southwestern, Persian. Steve Smith went down the lane, threw it off the backboard, dunked on everybody. Straight to the locker room.
Was the game still going?
Game's still going.
He just went right to the locker room? What? That is soft move or boss move?
Boss move.
That's a boss move.
Yeah, that's
He's
urban legend.
I'm done with all of y'all.
That's urban legend.
I'm done with all. That sounds like something that would happen at like Dykeman. That doesn't sound like something that would happen during an actual game.
That's
with
what
stakes.
that reminded me of when I was like, wow. Like, that's crazy. I mean, Bo Jackson, when he did it, when he ran 99 yards.
You know, Vontaze Burfict almost did that too in the playoffs a couple years ago. Remember, it seemed like the game was over and he ran into the tunnel. I was like, ooh, I like that.
Jim Marshall tried it. He went the wrong way.
And then he lost the game for the Bengals. Whoops. You know I don't read full articles. You know that about me, right? I read the headline.
You act like you don't, but you really
and I
do.
skim sometimes.
He does, everybody.
But there was a very long expose.
One of us got to read.
That is very important for us to discuss. And it is about the prevalence of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich across the National Basketball Association. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are a key part of an NBA player's life. I did not know this, but apparently it started about 10 years ago with Kevin Garnett. And now these teams are very meticulous about their peanut butter and jelly sandwich policies. They need them before the game, after the game, on the flight. They have different types of jelly, different types of peanut butter. Peanut butter jelly sandwiches are fueling the NBA, something I didn't know. So I ask you this important question. What is your ideal peanut butter and jelly sandwich? What type of bread? What type of peanut butter? What type of jelly? This is very important. Go.
Wheat bread, grape jelly, smooth peanut butter.
Why smooth?
No nuts. Because it messes up the bread.
It's hard to spread. And that's one of the things I don't like about the peanut butter is you keep it in the fridge and then you have to spread it and it's just difficult to spread. Did you eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches when you were in the league?
I did.
Really?
But I want to go back to something.
What's that?
Peanut butter in the fridge?
Yeah.
What?
You don't keep peanut butter in the fridge?
No.
No.
I've always kept peanut butter in the fridge. Do you know what my wife does? She keeps bread in the fridge.
That makes sense.
You keep bread in the fridge?
That makes sense, yeah.
You keep bread in the fridge.
Yeah.
So you get a loaf of bread, you bring it home from the grocery store, you just put it in the fridge.
No. Not initially. Once it gets opened.
Oh, okay.
Once it gets opened. My grandmother, Grammy, 99 years
Grammy.
old. She's a neat freak, respectfully. And she's meticulous. And she does not like anything in the kitchen that is opened to not be covered
I like this.
or inside of a Ziploc.
I like this. Shouts at Cranny.
So basically, absolutely, once it gets opened, goes into the fridge, probably in a Ziploc.
As I read this, quote unquote, read this, I just thought about these trainers that make these sandwiches. Like, they went to school and they went to college. They went to graduate school. They studied the human body. You know what I mean? They're just educated, intense, intelligent human beings. And at some point, they're spreading the peanut butter and jelly across some bread, being like, how did it come to this? Like, how did it come to this? How did I spend $400,000 on education to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for unappreciative billionaires?
And then they're looking at their checks like, I could do this forever.
Jalen Rose, a long time ago, I made it a goal in my life to run a marathon.
Wow.
This Sunday, I accomplished that goal. I ran the marathon, Jalen Rose. I learned a lot on the marathon, and I want to touch on some things that I learned. Number one, so many snacks. Mile 2, I'm running by. There's this lovely family, and they've cooked like 35 hot dogs. They've got sauerkraut on the hot dogs, mustard on the hot dogs. And I'm just thinking to myself, who wants to eat a hot dog in the middle of a marathon? Like, I really appreciate it, but the orange slices were much more appropriate. There's people giving out beer on the marathon. Beer was a big motivating factor for this. Because I knew that there was a beer garden at the end. I just kept reminding myself, like, there's a beer garden. The most efficient way to get there is to keep running. You can't hit an Uber.
So I want to make sure that I pay homage, salute, give respect to you, not only as my brother, but as somebody that has courage. Like, so many times we look ourselves in the mirror and we're scared to face challenges. Mm-hmm. And you purposely took one on. You've never ran 26 miles in your life.
Never close. I think the longest before I started training was about 6 or 7
You didn't
miles.
even run 26 miles before you ran a marathon.
No, never done it before. I'd never done it before. It's just, there is a feeling of like accomplishing a goal that you set for yourself. And the thing about this, which is nice, is I'm a last-minute cram guy. Like, I'm an all-nighter the day before the test guy, and you can't cram for this exam. Like, you have to dedicate yourself to it for a couple months previous, because I saw the people that weren't ready for it. There was a lot of people starting at the end of that marathon, carnage everywhere. Calves cramping up, police, like medical people, got people on gurneys. And I'm just looking left and right like that could be me at any time.
And also, Jacoby, I want to pay salute to a couple of things. One, in life, so many times we try to blame others for our shortcomings, and we look at things that didn't go well in our lives, personally, with our family dynamic, and we continue to harbor that negative energy and feelings as opposed to using that as fuel. That's one of those things, running a marathon, that nobody can do for you. Mm-hmm. No matter how much your beautiful wife, Joey, loves you, who's the most amazing woman?
The best.
That, like, her endurance and her love and her courage is outstanding. For her to be out there with 3 kids,
one strapped to
carrying
her,
2
in a
of
stroller.
yeah. One in a stroller, okay, holding a sign that says "Go Dad, Go." It's also a motivation for all of you individuals out there that don't have love in your life. How that sort of support can make you want to run through a brick wall. Because when I saw your family, I was about to start running.
One thing I want to bring up, I appreciate everybody that was involved with the marathon, all the volunteers that were giving out water and Gatorade, just the hundreds of people that were part of this to bring it together. But I do have one little note. Just a little note. And I say this with love, LA Marathon people. At the end of the marathon, that big archway that you go through that signifies the end of the marathon, how about this? Next time, just put a big word on it. What should that word say?
Exit.
Finish. Like, it wasn't clear that the marathon was over when it was over. It was just like, I didn't know if I was just going through a checkpoint, if there's still another 0.2 to go. It's just like, let's just put the word finish line on there somewhere, just to make it very clear that the marathon is actually over.
And also, thank you for your dedication to the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. You created a GoFundMe page to go with this mission. It's raised over $13,000.
$13,000, and I am just humbled and honored at every single individual, whether you gave $1 or whether you gave $100 or even more. I'm just so humbled and honored that those people took the time to go to the page, to take out their credit card, put their numbers into the fields, put the security thing in, and then actually donate the money. It means a lot. And it's a very good cause.
And this is why us being beacons and voices for change are important when social and political topics come up. And there's always some sort of racial inclusion that gets brought into these sort of conversations. And so I always note that there are so many people that are willing to give of themselves to a cause to help someone else that don't have to do it,
no,
but are willing to do it. Because the hardest thing to get someone to do, especially a celebrity, if you think I'm lying, go to your favorite celebrities, Twitter handle, Instagram, whatever. Only thing they talking about is their job or themselves. Mm-hmm. The hardest thing to get people to do is to donate their time, their energy, and their money.
And I want to especially recognize some people that donated their time and energy encouraging me to run the marathon. There was a couple named DJ and Angela around mile 3, had a sign for me, stopped and took pictures with them. There's a dude named Tom right around mile 20. Do you know what he did? He brought high pH balanced Kawhi Leonard approved water for me.
That is very nice. And he listens to the program.
He listens
clearly.
to the show. Big shout to Tom. He gave me kind of a big bottle of water I didn't want to run with, but I kind of ran away with it, pretending I was going to drink it. And I took a couple sips and put it down. It was just ergonomically inappropriate, but I really appreciate those people supporting me along the way. It was just such a great experience. But let me tell you something. It's hard to run 26 miles. Right around mile 24, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this. If it was 26.5 miles, I don't know if I would do it. Also, another shout to our friend, Carissa Thompson.
Yes.
We saw her afterwards. She ran the marathon. Big shout to CT, too. And everybody, if you want to run a marathon, do it.
And again, we humbly thank you and appreciate you and support you. And everybody's hard-earned money that they took the time to donate to the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, we're committed to not only create scholars and leaders of today, but also the future.
We don't talk about the South African Premier League in soccer that often.
I'm glad we're not forcing topics about a league that doesn't start playing meaningful games until September.
Is Tony Romo going to make the Texans a contender?
We're not going to say that word.
Should Kirk Cousins have
This
signed the
starts
franchise
with an
deal?
F on our show because there are no meaningful topics in that sport.
This is a very meaningful event in South African Premier League football. A gentleman by the name of Mohamed Anas, I hope I said his name right, was the player of the game. So they do an interview after the game, and he thanked his fans and some other people that are important to him. Let's give it a listen.
And I appreciate my fans also. My wife and my girlfriend. My wife. Yeah, sorry to say. I'm so sorry, my wife. Listen, I love you so much. I love you so much from my heart.
He thanked his wife and his girlfriend. What do you think he said when he got home?
Freudian slip.
What do you think he said when he got home?
He tried to walk it back by professing his love to his wife multiple times afterwards.
That's not going to work. That's not going to work. If his wife is anything like my wife, she didn't even hear that
you
part.
already put it on wax.
Yeah, come on.
And I'm not going to get into what his belief system or religion may be, but I do know if you say you want to thank your wife, the next thing that comes out of your mouth can't be you want to thank your girlfriend. That is all bad.
It's not. Here's the thing. Your girlfriend's not going to be mad if you don't mention her. Okay? She's not going to be mad. But your wife is going to be mad if you mention the girlfriend.
Because usually, and there's no inexact science to go with this, usually you're not going to leave the wife for the girlfriend. That's a misnomer.
I just love how he immediately was like, oh, my bad. I love you so much. It's going to be tough when he gets home. It's going to be real tough when he gets home.
It is.
Oh, God bless that guy. Jalen Rose. They caught the dude that stole Tom Brady's jersey. Okay?
Both of them.
Mauricio Ortega Camberos was credentialed, went in the locker room, took Tom Brady's jersey. Previously had also stolen Tom Brady's jersey. What? So here's my problem with Mauricio. You're going to commit a felony, surveillance felony at the biggest sporting event in the world for a used Tom Brady jersey that you might be able to eBay for like $20,000. If you are going to take this kind of a risk, you have to think about the reward. Like, he didn't do a proper return on investment risk-reward analysis. If you are going to do this, like if you're really about this life, Maurizio, rob a bank, dude. Rob a jewelry store. Don't take Tom Brady's dirty clothes. If you're going to commit a felony and steal something that's valuable that you can resell. Don't steal Tom Brady's dirty clothes.
I hate that this happened for one distinct reason. Our commander in tweets is going to be the type of person that used this as fuel to try to force feed some sort of division between the United States and Mexico.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that angle, Jalen. And now
this
that you
will
brought it
now
up,
become an example.
I cannot believe this is going to happen.
I have been at an Antonio Tarver fight in Atlantic City with one Tom Brady and the current celebrity in tweets. He clearly is a fan of their team. And you can't tell me now. Did you just say that was a felony?
Yes.
You did. Okay. He's going to take that example and bring it to life.
I can't believe I didn't think of this angle. You are so right, and it's going to happen. And everyone that listens to this show is going to be like, once again, Jalen predicted it, and here we are. Let's move on because I'm getting sad. Let's imagine Tiger Woods called your phone. Said, Jalen, I've always been a big fan of your basketball career, your media career, but mainly I'm a fan of your hairline. As one of the best hairlines in the game, I wanted to reach out to you with a simple question. Jalen, I need your advice. What should I do about my hairline?
Let it go quick. I saw him on SportsCenter. He looked 2 times older than me.
Yep. He did. Yep. He's holding on, though.
But there's no reason to hold on.
If he called your phone, what advice would you give him?
Cut it off.
The whole thing? Just
cut
pick
it all
the whole
off.
thing and go bald?
Cut it all off. Cut it all off.
Yeah. Really?
Cut it all off.
Really?
Yeah.
For you, it's 100% or 0%.
Here's why. Once it starts to recede and you acknowledge it and the rest of the world acknowledges, there's the only thing left to do is to cut it off. That's it. So what are you waiting for? You want to wait 2 years? You want to wait 4 years? Like, what do you might as well go ahead and set up your look right now for what it's going to be.
I am, as Draymond Green would call it, creeping in the corners a little bit with my hairline, as you like to point out very often.
You good.
I brought this up to my wife this weekend. She was shocked. She was like, are you going to be bald? And I could see in her head, she was like, I didn't sign up for this. And I was just like, oh, no, is she about to divorce me? I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. So she was like shocked. She's like, are you going to be bald? And I was like, no, I'm not going to be bald.
No, you good.
We'll see.
Let it go, Tiger.
Yeah. Jalen, what's your favorite food?
Lobster.
You know, as we head into the Major League Baseball season, all anyone talks about is Tim Tebow. We won't. But they released some of the new ballpark foods that they have. In Boston, you can get what is called a lobster poutine stack. French fries covered with chunks of lobster, cheese curds, bisque, and chives. Are you interested in indulging in a lobster poutine stack?
You know how Biggie was like, money and blood don't mix? Mm-hmm. Fries and lobster don't either.
Yep. That's a great point. Cheese and lobster doesn't mix. No one's ever said, you know what, I'll take some lobster meat and just melt some cheese on top of that.
I only talk about things I think I'm an expert at. You can't put cheese, you can't put fries with lobster. Especially in the Northeast.
Have you ever had a lobster roll?
I don't eat sushi.
You're the best. Doing this show with you is so much fun sometimes. Because you say things like that. There's a rumor on the internet, this one you're going to like, that your favorite television show, Power, could be adapted into a feature-length film. What? Would you be more excited for an extra season of TV Power or for a movie Power?
I need both.
First of all, you never think about the answers that you give on
the
show.
I need both.
You never think about the answers you give in the show. You put zero thought into anything I ask you, but all of a sudden I ask you a question about power, and it's all of a sudden it's just like the quadratic equation you have to figure out.
Man. Give us the next season and then do the movie.
I would like to see the movie, because I can't commit to watching 3 seasons. It's just too much time. But I would love to just watch 90 minutes of it.
50 involved, they're going to do both.
Apple announced that they're making a red version of the iPhone 7. They're making your phone red. You interested in having a red phone?
Not at all.
Me neither.
Nope. That's doing too much.
Also,
extra.
Apple, let me tell you a secret. Everyone puts condoms on your phones. Like, what your phone looks like doesn't matter because we're all buying cases and putting it on top. How about this, Apple? Yep. Before you, just instead of painting it red, do this for me. Make a phone that lasts for more than 4 hours. How is it when I leave my house, I'm on 100%. 4 or 5 hours later, I'm down to 20%. But you know what? I don't need to see somebody across the world. I don't need to edit videos on my phone. I don't need to be connected to everybody at all the time. I don't need to talk to it, Siri. I don't need any of that. Do you know what I need? I need it to function for 20 hours without being charged. You know what? Dead Siri. No one's using Siri, Apple. No. Let me tell you something. I know you spent billions of dollars developing this. No one is using Siri. Do you know what they are using? Their phones. They're using their batteries. Make a new battery, Apple.
And I have one as well for Apple because I held on to the BlackBerry revolution as long as anybody.
I know, you really did.
What?
Can we actually get a phone? You ready for this? That doesn't need a case or a condom around it?
For real?
Where I can actually use it and or possibly drop it and it won't immediately
Shatter?
be broken? After I just spent $700 on it?
Siri's great. I'm sure it's great. But you know what we need? A phone that doesn't break and a battery that doesn't die.
And here's the other thing. Let me use whatever headphones I choose.
Yeah.
Like, you going to bully me into using a certain headphone? Like, let me use what I want to use.
And we putting it on wax.
The playoff picture is becoming clearer, Mr. Rose.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to discuss the Eastern or the Western Conference first?
Let's show them how the East Coast rocks.
Now I'm going to show you how the East Coast rocks. Cleveland is going to be the number 1 seed. They're up 2 games, but barring something catastrophic, I cannot imagine Boston making up those games. Boston will be the number 2 seed. As we record this, they are 2.5 games up on the Washington Wizards, who they just beat, in the 3 spot. Starts to get a little interesting between 3 and 4 there. Is there a chance that the Raptors, who've been playing pretty well recently, could overtake the Wizards and go into the 3 spot?
That's the intrigue. So, as a blanket of what to look for these last 15 games in the league, the intrigue for me was, other than the Spurs, the team that gets a chance to play against the Cavs or the Warriors in the conference finals, they're going to celebrate having a great season.
Yeah.
Also, who's going to get the 8th spot in the East or the West?
Well, there's a team that you may be a little interested in that being challenged from a Miami Heat team for that 8th spot. No one saw this coming.
Also being challenged by the Milwaukee Bucks. We saw those 2 teams actually make it last year, along with the Heat. So it would be a step in the opposite direction for one of those teams not to make the playoffs. And so I'm still holding fast that Detroit will get in, that that Detroit will get in, that Miami is in. Miami's getting in.
So you're saying that the Milwaukee Bucks will completely fall apart over the course of the next 10 or so games?
But here's the problem with that theory. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Mm-hmm. The Heat are 7-3. The Pistons are 5-5. However,
Pistons aren't making the playoffs, Jalen. Someone's got to tell this to you.
However,
I've been saying this the entire year long. The Pistons are not making the playoffs.
The other
Jay.
2 teams lost their previous game.
I love Detroit.
Detroit won it.
I love Detroit. My dad's from Detroit. My granddad's from Detroit. I love you. But sometimes you have to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. You know the Pistons are going to be out.
Sounds like you're going to be on a flight with me to Cleveland or to Boston or coming to Detroit watching the playoff game.
I would love that. Of these teams.
Now, the Bulls, that's the team that ain't getting in.
They're not getting in. They're not even trying. The Pacers, Bucks, Hawks, and Pistons. Which team could possibly upset their higher-seeded opponent in the first round of the playoffs if the seeds hold?
None.
It feels that way, doesn't it?
I think it's going to be chalk.
It feels that way, doesn't it? I would say the Pacers would have a chance.
You want to say they may have a chance, for example, as it shapes up against the Wizards, but I've learned that there's a reason why one team is playing 600 basketball and one team is playing 500, 51.4% basketball.
This is a large sample size,
yes.
too.
And so I think the first 4 teams advance as constituted, even if the order changes. Cleveland, Boston, Washington, Toronto. Those are the best teams in the Eastern Conference. That will be the Eastern Conference semifinals. And the 5th team, somebody came out and said something that was controversial this week.
What?
Dwight Howard. If you listen to this program, it actually wasn't. I've been telling you guys, hate it or love it, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, they're going to the same Hall of Fame.
I don't know why people get so upset about this. Why do people get so upset about this? Dwight Howard is a Hall of Fame player.
And Dwight and
Carmelo
Dwayne
Anthony
Wade
is a Hall of Fame player. Dwayne Wade, Hall of Fame player. Dwight's going to the Hall of Fame. Did you read that Dwight Howard was eating 12 candy bars a day? Like, not candy bars, but like Skittles and M&Ms and all that. 12 a day, Jalen? What? Let's go over to the West Coast.
Warriors come out and play.
In the Western Conference, the battle for the 8th seed is still raging with the Nuggets just a half game over the Trailblazers. Dallas has fallen out of contention, in my opinion. Who do you think is in and who is out?
I initially felt that the Denver Nuggets would get the spot, led by Jokic and Plumlee.
The Birch brothers.
And then all of a sudden they trade Nurkic to the Portland Trailblazers.
And he blows up. I love Nurkic.
Here's one of those things I want fans to pay attention to. 2 months ago, Nurkic and Jokic were both on the same practice floor.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to assess the talent and say, man, this guy Jokic clearly has potential. Therefore, if I move Nurkic, he can blow up, which he did.
He did.
But you don't expect the guy you move to also blow up. So it makes you feel like, man, that's the difference a lot of times between all-time great franchises sometimes, like the Yankees or the Lakers or
Patriots.
the Patriots. It seems like they get the great player and they compound it with the great decision. And so while I applaud how the Blazers have played with him because he's given them balance, they've won 8 out of their last 10, I'm going to go against you now, even though Jamal Murray's played well, Will Barton's played well for the Nuggets, and say, led by the Mama's boys, McCollum and Lillard,
And we putting it on wax.
Portland ends up with the 8th spot.
I can't remember a trade between two teams vying for a playoff position this tightly. I can't remember it. Obviously in the history of the game, it's happened before, but in my mind, I can't think of a time when two teams that were tightly contested like this traded and they ended up both sort of benefiting.
But also, too, we're looking deeper into the box score, which national publications normally don't do. They only talk about 10 players and 5. They only talk about 10 players and 5 teams. And so, since it's the 8th spot, it can't get overlooked. But it's a terrific race.
It is a good race. I'll ask you the same question I asked about the Eastern Conference. Of the currently 5 through 8 spots in the Western Conference, the Clippers, the Thunder, the Grizzlies, and the Nuggets, could you see any of them winning a series?
Chalk. And
you're taking Jazz over Clippers, Jalen?
That's where I wanted to highlight.
You're taking Jazz over Clippers, Jalen?
That's what I was about to highlight.
You're taking Jazz over Clippers, Jalen?
That's what I was about to highlight.
I disagree with you, sir.
That's what I was about to highlight.
What were you about to highlight?
Whoever wins the 4-5 home court advantage between the Jazz and the Clippers will advance. They're only separated now by 1 game. If the Clippers get the 4th spot, they'll advance. If Utah get this 4th spot, Jacoby, they're going to win that series.
Now, you know I don't love going down the hypothetical highway, but we're in a car, we're driving, we're on the hypothetical highway.
The freeway.
Jalen Rose, if the Clippers get bounced in the first round, simple yes or no questions. Does Doc Rivers coach the team next year?
No.
Does Blake Griffin play on the team next year?
Yes.
Does Chris Paul play on the team next year?
Yes.
Interesting.
They lose J.J. Redick.
Interesting.
And Doc is like, wait a minute. So here's one other thing that I really must point out. And I know that we talked about rested players, but it involved the Clippers. I just want to get to this real quick.
You can do whatever you want, Jalen.
This is also what players have to pay attention to. Integrity. So the Clippers rested Blake and DeAndre the previous game at Utah. Their host, which was a Thursday, they're hosting a game Saturday against the Cavs. Whose staff did Tyronn Lue used to be on?
Clippers.
Who's Chris Paul's best friend that plays for the Cavs?
LeBron James.
That's not a good look. When your 3 best players doesn't play against that team and they're in a tight playoff race, but you play the next night against the lottery-bound Lakers. This is why the whole exercise of resting players for contending teams not only is bad for the fans, but it affects the balance of power in the game. And that's something that you can't continue to have especially with all of these teams trying to vie for these spots.
Do you think there was active collusion on the part of Doc Rivers and Coach Lou? Do you think
No.
they texted, or was it just sort of an unspoken little wink, wink, nod, nod, my guys are going to rest against you, not the Lakers?
The Clippers were on a 3-game losing streak. They needed that win. And you know
Interesting.
how many times the last 3 years that the Cavs have won a game when 2 of their big 3 have not played? It's taken place 11 times.
0.
And we putting it on wax.
Some things just don't need to be discussed. So we're going to go to keep it moving, where I bring up a topic that is in the news. If you don't want to discuss it, we keep moving. If you do, I hit the brakes. Are you ready?
Let's get it.
Jim Harbaugh says that NFL teams should sign Colin Kaepernick.
Hit the brakes. Who's the backup quarterback for the Ravens? Because the last time Colin Kaepernick played at an elite level, Jim Harbaugh was his head coach in San Francisco.
Yes.
His brother now coaches in Baltimore.
Huh.
Seems like
That would
maybe
fit.
he's dropping a nugget, a precursor to what may take place in the future. Ryan Mallett is their backup.
Would you rather have Ryan Mallett or Colin Kaepernick?
You heard it here first. Colin
Interesting.
Kaepernick to the Ravens.
Here's the thing.
And we
If
putting
Geno
it
Smith
on
got a deal
wax.
and Mike Glennon got a deal, Colin Kaepernick's going to get a deal. Marshawn Lynch's agent says he misses football.
So
Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
hit the brakes.
2 in a row.
Take it from a player that's been retired for 10 years.
Give it to me. I know what you're going to say.
I want to teach all of the media members something. You guys are such suckers.
You know you're a media member, right?
But I didn't say this.
Okay.
When you talk about Marshawn Lynch coming back, whether he's going to be able to run for 4 or 5 yards a carry, whether he's going to be able to stay healthy for an entire season, whether he's going to be able to help the Seahawks or the Raiders, I got a news flash for you guys. Has nothing to do with his charity or foundation. When a basketball, football player in particular retires and they've been out of the game for at least 1 year, there's a reason.
It's over.
And so I know that his heart is in Oakland, just like my heart is in Detroit. Beast Mode promised me to come on this program. Got love for him. But I have to be a voice as a former athlete to say, there's a reason why he watched people play football and didn't earn $8 million last year. So
I
now you don't
believe-
just come back and all of a sudden you Jim Brown.
I believe that he misses football. I believe that's a fact. I also believe that he will not be an effective football player in the National Football League if he does come back. Simple as that. Cam Newton is having rotator cuff surgery.
Cam. Oh, Cam. Hit the brakes.
What? 3 in a row? I don't want to talk about that. Cam Newton having rotator cuff surgery?
Here's why I want to talk about it. 2 years ago, he won the MVP. His team
Yep.
made it to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They was dabbing, what we call front running, a lot that year. I love how sports can humble you. And you come back the next season, they don't even make the playoffs. And so the Super Bowl hangover is real. The reason why I had you hit the brakes is you better hurry up and get under the knife.
Yeah, it's been a while.
The season ended for them when?
And one thing I want to bring up, this is something that happened this year in the NFL that struck my heart, that touched me emotionally in a bad way. That Luke Kuechly injury. Do you remember that head injury? Look, the season was pretty much over for them, but it was just a regular tackle. It wasn't some crazy play. It was just a regular tackle. And remember his face after that concussion? That was when I was watching this game and being like, I don't know about this sport. I don't know.
I like your theory of where you feel like the rules of football are going.
I know where they're going. It is going to be like rugby. Eventually, people think I'm crazy when I say this. Eventually, you will be required to wrap your arms around the ball carrier if you are attempting to tackle them. Remember where you heard that first.
And we putting it on
Aaron
wax.
Rodgers is selling a house in Green Bay.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Doug Baldwin said that Russell Wilson is training like an animal this
Keep it moving.
offseason.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
A study says Norway is the
Are
happiest.
athletes paid to
Hold
train?
on, this is a good one. A study says Norway is the happiest country on earth.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Need to visit.
Do you know what you call a person from Norway?
Norwegian.
Great work. The Saints have agreed to a 2-year deal with linebacker Manti Te'o.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Man, that catfish cost him a career.
Barry Bonds is going to join the Giants front office as an advisor.
What?
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Big shout out, B. Bonds. I'm happy to see him get a gig.
James Harden says, quote, I'll rest when I'm done, end quote.
Hit the brakes. Every time you watch your favorite team play and then you hear somebody say, well, based on the medicine and the research, guys get more hurt and more likely to get injured in the second night of back-to-backs. I want you to look at Tristan Thompson. He dating a Kardashian and he still ain't missed a game. He play on the same team as those other guys.
Huh.
And this is not a LeBron thing. This is a league thing. Contending teams call it resting players. Lottery team call it shutting down.
There's a video of a giant chicken on the internet.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
What kind of chicken?
You didn't see how big the chicken was.
Was it
Jay.
fried?
It was a really big chicken. It was a gigantic chicken. This chicken weighed like 100 pounds.
Oh, okay.
It was a big chicken. You still want to keep it moving?
Feed the whole neighborhood, but nah.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
The Falcons gave Rich McKay a 5-year contract extension.
What team?
The Falcons
What they do in the Super Bowl?
lost.
They choke. Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Big shout out to Julio Jones.
They want to change the overtime rules in football. I'm hitting the brakes on this one. When I saw that, I said, thank God.
Me too.
Even as a Patriots fan, I was like, you know what? That Super Bowl didn't feel right. It didn't feel right that the Patriots came all the way back, won a coin tossed, marched down the field and scored, and the Falcons didn't even get to match. Didn't even get to touch the ball. So when I see that they're going to change the overtime rules, I say, finally some justice. Finally, each team will be able to have a possession. Do you know what the proposed change is?
What's that?
Going from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. What? What is that going to do for anybody? Do you know what that's going to mean? More ties.
Yep.
I don't need more ties in the NFL, Jalen.
Nope.
Especially when both teams get a chance to get the football. Just let them play a normal quarter.
Don't you feel like you can keep it the way it is in the regular season, but in the playoffs, both teams should be able to touch the ball in overtime?
Agreed.
I think that's like
That should
who's
be a
against
reward for making the postseason.
that? Who's against that? Who is against that rule change? Look, I understand why we're not doing this in the regular season. I get that. But in the postseason, each team should be able to touch the ball. Is anyone saying no to that? Who's upset about that rule?
Extra football? Postseason? No one.
Nope.
A study says Norway is the happiest planet on earth.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Tiger Woods says he wants to play in the
Keep
Masters.
it moving. He ain't playing in no Masters. That's in 2 weeks. Tiger on his media tour. He ain't playing. I seen him on with Strahan.
He was everywhere.
I seen him on with Scott
He was on
Van
Good Morning
Pelt.
America. Then he's on Scott Van Pelt.
And he was doing that with his hair on purpose.
I think so too.
He did it on purpose.
If LeBron James agreed to come on this show, I've thought about this a lot. Would you let me ask him a question about his hair?
Of course.
Yep.
I feel like he's never really addressed it on wax.
Nope.
I feel like someone needs to just be like, LeBron, what's going on with the hair? Did you get plugs? What's your plan? What are you doing here? No one's, because again, like, you know my thing. I don't like to make fun of people for things that they can't control.
Yep.
But something tells me that he might have had a procedure or two.
So that sounds like control.
Sounds like something I can make fun of him for.
Control.
Tony Romo.
Keep it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
He's still on the Dallas football team. People be talking about him every day. It's funny.
Yankees first baseman Greg
Keep
Bird.
it moving.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Can I finish?
Nope.
I can't finish, guys?
Nope.
You know what? I quit the show.
We be moving, you know, we keep it moving.
Call 985-80-JALEN and leave us a voicemail. This is our favorite new segment because we get to hear from you,
Shout out.
our listeners. Let's listen to the first voicemail.
What up, Jalen and Jacoby? This is Andrew from Lithuania. Thank you guys for the inspiration to do podcast about NBA myself. especially Jacoby, because like Kobe from Jordan, I try to steal your best moves and use them in my style. Can you give me the best advice to make my podcast better? What can you do to make your show grow and just keep getting better? P.S. I still can't believe Jalen wears socks only once. Thanks, guys. You're the best.
I love our international listeners. I absolutely love them. And I get this question sometimes, and it's humbling and flattering that people even ask me, like, oh, I'm starting a podcast. Like, what should I do? And I'm like, I don't even know.
Well, hit the brakes.
I do have.
I appreciate your humility, but I remember asking you this same question.
You did.
And it turned into this program. So
it did.
Feel free to answer the caller.
Here's one thing I say. Repetitions. Get your repetitions. I think a lot of people, when they start a new endeavor, when they're young, they're ambitious, they want to go from 0 to a 60 in 1 second. They all of a sudden think that just because they put out a couple episodes of a podcast they did by themselves, that they should be hired by major companies in media and be superstars. You have to evolve slowly, So whether it's you want to be a writer, just start writing by yourself. There is no barrier of entry to a podcast. You know what you can't do? You can't just give yourself a television show all of a sudden. You need cameramen. You need a distribution. You need a deal.
A budget.
You need money. With a podcast, you can just start a podcast tomorrow. So just do it. Don't talk about it. Do it. That's my advice. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
What's up, Jalen Jacoby? This is Mario out in beautiful San Diego. Got a question about Shaq. Are you guys worried about him? I think he's on every commercial now. I think he even did one for the General Auto Insurance. No offense to the General, but their mascot is an animated General. I worry about Shaq. And I think now I read that he's a flat earther too. Not good. Thanks a lot, guys. Give people what they want. And, of course, go Spurs, go.
Big shout to Mario. San Diego, underappreciated American city.
Yes.
It is beautiful in San Diego. I went there and I was like, I understand why no one gets any work done here. I get it.
Or never leaves.
Yeah, I understand.
Or go to L.A. and come back.
San Diego is one of the greatest cities in America. Big shout out to you, Mario. I'm not worried about Shaq. However, I'm worried about the General. Those are some bad commercials. Like, the animations for the Jalen and Jacoby television show should not be 7,000 times better than the multi-million-dollar insurance company campaign. You know what I mean? Like, y'all need to step your animation game up. I'll give you some numbers. Holler at me, General. I'm worried about you.
Diesel, keep getting them checks.
He's getting them checks. Is there any company that would offer you endorsement that you would say no to? If Marlboro was like Jalen, lifetime deal, $100 million.
I'm not doing cigarettes or tobacco.
I don't think I could do it either.
I'm not doing it.
What else?
I'm putting it on wax, so maybe I just cost myself some bread.
I don't think so. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
What's up, guys? This is Josh from Atlanta. Jalen, what's your favorite off-court sneaker? And Jacoby, who do you think you can make laugh quicker? Kendrick Perkins, Derrick Rose, or Kawhi Leonard? I appreciate it. I love the show. Catch y'all later.
Two good questions.
He said Derrick Rose, Kawhi, or who?
Kendrick Perkins.
Okay. Appreciate the call. My favorite off-court sneakers to rock, first and foremost, have always been Adidas.
Really?
Forms, top tens, shell toes. After that, suede Pumas.
You're not rocking Samba Classics?
And that's it. That's literally it. If that's all I could wear forever, that's all you will ever see me
If I had to
in.
wear one style of sneaker for the rest of my life, it would be Chuck Taylors from Converse.
Too flat.
I got the Chuck Taylor 2s on right now. They changed them. They changed the game, Jalen.
I remember playing in Chucks, and now I walk around in Chucks and feel like I could pick up a pebble with the back of my toes. Like, those things are on the ground.
It does look like there are some pebbles already on your toes, let's be honest. And to answer your second question, I could definitely make all of them laugh, but I could make Derrick Rose laugh easiest. Never Kawhi Leonard. Let's listen to the next voicemail.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby, Jason from Portland, Oregon. Can you guys start reviewing rap albums again, or at least mentioning what you're listening to? As a 40-year-old person, it's hard to keep track of what's good in rap, and I used to rely strongly on your recommendations. Thanks. Bye.
Good question, Jason. I've been listening to More Life recently. More Life is Drake's, I guess he's calling it a playlist that he put out with 22 new songs. The first time, let me preface it by saying this. The first time I ever heard One Dance, I thought it was soft. I thought it was corny. And I thought it was just like Drake going in this weird pop direction that I didn't like. But then, catch me 2 weeks later, my favorite song. And I feel the same way about More Life. I'm like, I do not like this album. I've listened to it once all the way through. I was like, I do not like this. However, I would not be surprised if over the next couple weeks I fell in love with it.
Got to call Big Sean, too.
I love Big Sean. Yep. Big Sean's album is a throwback album. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has skits that make sense, that go throughout it. It's got every song sort of has a direction and like a sort of raison d'etre. It's like, this is a song about blank. You don't hear that a lot.
And more important than anything I could ever say about my little brother from Detroit musically, the inaugural graduating class of the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, all I had to do was shoot him a text.
He was there.
He was there.
Big Sean. I'm also listening to Future. I'm very concerned about Future. A lot of prescription pills. A lot of lean. A lot of drugs. I'm just concerned about him. Like, I don't know how he's conscious.
And a lot of, I'm going to take your girl.
Yeah.
I want him to get to the point where it's like, she's my girl.
Yeah. Come on,
I'm
Future.
happy with mine.
Yeah.
I don't have to steal yours.
Let's listen to another voice now.
Hey, Jalen and Jacoby, this is Demetrius from Miami. Keep giving the people what they want. What I want to know is, what is the Miami Heat's Hassan Whiteside's ceiling? Do you see Defensive Player of the Year, or do you just see like a good starter for his career? Hopefully All-Star in the future. All right, just keep giving the people what they want. Peace.
Hassan Whiteside, terrific young player. How about this? You ready for a fun fact?
Yes.
The same year the Sacramento Kings drafted Boogie Cousins in the first round, they drafted Hassan Whiteside in the second round.
Huh. What? You know one thing that's impressed me about Whiteside? No behavioral stuff this year.
That's where I was going.
And
Demeanor.
he signed a big contract. So because he was auditioning last year. But he's got the big deal, and he's not getting in dust-ups. There's no weird off-the-court stuff, no crazy social media stuff. He has been under the radar in terms of a distraction, and he's also been under the radar in terms of performance. He is performing really well.
To me, his upside is clearly multiple-time All-Star, potential Defensive Player of the Year, rebound champion, shot block champion. These are all things he should be able to attain.
I will say this. I do not believe you can build a franchise around Hassan Whiteside.
He can't be the best player on the championship team.
He needs scorers around him to get him the ball and to shoot shots that he rebounds and puts back.
But one of the things I like that he does a lot, and it's really old school. When he dunks, he sits on the rim. I just love that. I love that. Flush the toilet, big fella.
Let's listen to one more voicemail.
What up, though, Jalen and Jacoby? My name is Brian. I'm from Orange County. Just ran the LA Marathon, and I have a question for Jacoby. How's your legs feeling, and how's your nips feeling? And Jalen, what's going to take for you to run a marathon? Keep giving the people what they want and keep cashing them checks. See ya.
Thank you, Brian. A couple things. Number one, I did a lot of nipple protection research for this marathon. I have multiple nipple protection products. I settled on one called Mr. Nipple. I believe it is a Japanese company. I went international for this. There is a thing called Mr. Nipple, and it says protects and hides your nipple. I have a lot of concerns about the hide part. I didn't feel like my nipples were hidden at all. I don't really know what the hiding part is about. Like, they didn't get smaller. You know what I mean? It wasn't like flesh colored, so like it looked like I had no nipples. I didn't know who out there is trying to hide their nipples. I don't really know what that was about, but they were very well taken care of. They feel great. Legs, better than I expected. Better than I expected. Yesterday was tough, but today I feel pretty good.
I have the ultimate term that I want to use for you today. Champion. It's almost like a fighter. You could have gotten knocked out 15 times since the time you actually won the belt. But when people walk up to Mike Tyson, what do they call him?
Champ.
That's you.
Yep.
What?
Remember his second question? What's it going to take for Jalen to run a marathon?
What is it going to take for me to run a marathon? Nothing, because I can't. I ain't.
You could walk one.
I can walk one.
You could walk a marathon.
I could walk one. Never say never.
Never say never.
Never say never.
One thing I do want to say is I thought about walking. I thought about stopping. The tournament games were going on. I was running by sports bars, looking at the games on the screens, being like, I could just right now just go right inside there.
And you know what else? It was an interesting test for me as your brother because you were out there doing an amazing feat of running a marathon for 26 miles. And you were also doing it to benefit the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. Your wife was there. Your kids were there.
Yep.
Members of our staff, Harlan and Reggie was there. And I'm like, Michigan on too. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh, now you're talking about your sacrifice?
I'm like, wait a minute.
About your sacrifice?
I was like, you know what? I would not be able to live with myself if I go sit in front of this TV for 2.5 hours anywhere and watch this game and not try to track you down. So that's why, in my own way, I had on my JRLA sweater and my Michigan hat. And how great of a day did it end up being that they won and you cut down the net?
We have a simple model on this program, Jalen. So, we give the people what they want. We open up our 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, and we take questions from our listeners. Here's the first question from AK, that producer AK. How excited are you guys for Dave Chappelle's new specials? Here's one thing I do with all movies, albums, television shows. I'm not the first person in the pool. Someone else needs to jump in the pool first and tell me that the water's great, and then I jump in.
Well, I can't front. In 2017, there are a few things about my game I need to step up. One is...
Hairline's not one.
Thank you, sir. You look handsome today, especially rocking that medal. You're a champion.
I am a champion.
We're just going to continue to say that this entire program, even though I know this is the last segment. With that being said, I forgot what I was saying.
Perfect. I'm excited for the Dave Chappelle specials.
Oh, that's what I was saying.
He's always good. No, you don't get a chance. No, you don't get a chance. Once you forgot, you got to move on.
You're right. That's fair. That's fair. I like that.
T. Chang, no relation to T-Pain. How much impact will the last 10 games have on MVP voting? You have a vote, Jalen. Have you decided who you were going to vote for?
I have not. Right now, it's neck and neck with James Harden and Russell Westbrook.
What? No Kawhi?
What? Here's why. You have to pay attention to current events. It's going to be, you asked me, did the last 10 games going to decide? Yes.
Okay.
Is the answer to the question, because one has had 40-point triple-doubles seemingly every night the past week or so, and went coast to coast and made a game-winning layup.
Easily.
His team is third in the West, and he's more efficient from the field. Doesn't have the rebounds, doesn't have the defensive tenacity. The other candidate averages a triple-double. First player to do so since 1962. His team struggled in its most recent game, in particular the Golden State Warriors, who they've lost to 4 times this season.
Badly. I think it's Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
This is a good question. This is from Anthony Smith.
So you're the kid that want to use the bathroom in the pool. It's like, we got everything going on. We got Russell, we got Harden, and then here you come.
Yep. I still use the bathroom in the pool, for the record. And so does everybody else listening to this. You're just lying.
Oh, so I'm missing out.
You're just lying.
I'm getting out.
You're just lying
running
right
to
now.
the bathroom.
You lie into microphones all the time.
Well, I got to tell you why, though. I got to tell you why.
I don't really want to know, though.
There was a period in my life until like 4th grade where I peed in the bed.
Really? Till 4th grade?
Yeah.
What? Really?
Yeah, that was one of my nicknames. I got teased for a lot of things growing up. That's why I try to give...
What was your nickname?
Mr. Peabody.
No way. We're officially changing the title of the show.
Oh, I was the dude that went to a couple of people's houses, spent the night, and peed in the bed.
Mr. Peabody?
What?
Have you ever been in a romantic situation where the other person peed in the bed?
No.
I have.
What?
It's great leverage. It's great leverage because you can just clown that person forever about it.
You know what? It's great leverage once you get into bed with them.
Great point. Great point.
Whatever happens after that.
Different leverage right there. Different leverage you're talking about. All right,
you
Mr.
can just
Peabody.
make up a lie at that point.
All right, Mr. Peabody, let's go to the next question.
I flip over that mattress so fast in the morning.
Tyler wants to know, what's your favorite type of pie? And no, pizza pie does not count. Don't get cheeky, Jacoby. Tyler definitely listens to this show. That's exactly right.
I, for some reason, just feel like wanting to pay homage to a great American legend, as he rests in peace, named Bernie Mac. And I want everyone to Google what he has to say about pumpkin pie. And though it's not my favorite, it's funny when he says it.
I think pie is wildly overrated. Like cherry pie is pretty much disgusting. Key lime pie basically tastes like Gatorade. Like it's just pies are bad. Pies are not. If you're going to,
I like sweet potato pie.
Nope. No, thank you. I do not want a carb pie. But here's my favorite pie. To answer the question, it's a little weird. Banana cream. But I like a cream pie. Coconut cream, chocolate cream, banana cream. I don't want fruit in my dessert. If I'm going to be indulgent, like let's go all the way there. I don't need strawberries involved.
I realized as I started to enjoy adult beverages, really cut down on how much I eat dessert. They don't go together.
Also, it's just dessert is overrated a little bit. I like this. If there's 4 people there, let's get 2 desserts. We can each have a little scoop of each one. But one I don't need is like a big, huge slice of like chocolate cake.
I'll make up my mind. If I'm having a great meal, I'd rather have a big glass of an adult beverage.
Yeah, I've never seen you order dessert. I've never seen you order dessert.
Correct.
You know what one of the best desserts is? I do this all the time at fancy restaurants. I'm like, look, I know it's not on the menu. Can I just have a small scoop of vanilla ice cream? Can I just have a small scoop, please? That's all I want. Next one.
Oh, wow.
And now, the Don't Get Fired topic of the day.
We've made it this far without getting fired, Jalen. It's the last segment. James wants to know, do you feel the NFL is scared to sign Kaepernick in fear of the Trump tweets? I'm going to go no on that one.
So I'm just disappointed that our president and commander-in-chief, who I like to call our commander-in-tweets, likes to use his presidential platform as a bully pulpit.
Yeah.
How can you, with a straight face, talk about employing people throughout the United States, but yet you're encouraging somebody to not have a job? Those things don't go together.
I don't want the president to have an opinion on Colin Kaepernick's free agency. I just feel like there are more important things. There should be other priorities. I have other questions for him besides that.
So here's where I pull you behind the curtain, and it's a harsh reality. And Chris Rock talked about players are rich and the people who own the team are wealthy. Well, basically he's saying directly or indirectly is I travel in the circles of the people who write your check. And I have some influence whether you realize it or not. That's truly what he's saying. And to answer your question, no, because if Colin Kaepernick performed like Kirk Cousins last year, he would be signed to a team.
Exactly.
But when it's baggage that comes with off the field issues, regardless to what they are, social, emotional, political, they will now be weighed into your opportunities on the field. And if people think your productivity doesn't outweigh the negative PR that may come with signing you, then they'll lean to not do it.
I agree. Next question.
Geno Smith got a job.
Is for you. Dominic Woods wants to know, how can I make a long-distance relationship work? Have either of you ever been in one?
Yes. Here's what you got to do. It's really important. FaceTime.
FaceTime change the game.
Those phone calls that you make, in those. Never call again.
FaceTime.
Always FaceTime.
FaceTime. I can't tell you how many times I've been hanging out with you. You put the earbuds in, you hold the phone up to your face, and you're FaceTiming.
And I'm the last person to get an iPhone. I had a BlackBerry forever.
Last question is from Nate. Why does Yoo-Hoo taste so darn good?
That's what Bernie Mac was saying about the pumpkin pie. And he wasn't relating it to only the pie. That's why you got to hear that joke. I don't know what Yoo-Hoo is.
You've never heard of Yoo-Hoo?
No.
Ever?
I heard of Yahoo.
Were you ever a child?
I lost my innocence really early. Got 2 older brothers and an older sister, and I grew up in a really tough neighborhood. So a lot of things that I shouldn't have been seeing and hearing when I was in elementary, I was watching Scarface. I was watching The Godfather. I was going to school quoting those movies.
You have no idea what Yoo-Hoo is?
No, sir.
sometimes you say things to me that are just so shocking that it's just like, I don't understand how you could make it this far on this planet and go to grocery stores, go to bodegas, and see this beverage over and over and over again.
Oh, the
And it's
yellow
there you
bottle.
go.
Yes.
God, Jalen. Jalen Rose, you know we take this show very seriously. We're serious journalists.
At least you do.
And
At least you are.
I made the mistake earlier in the show of saying that lobster and cheese do not mix. It has been brought to my attention from our staff here at Jalen and Jacoby that I've overlooked the delicacy that is lobster mac and cheese. I apologize to everyone listening. I apologize to you, Jalen. I apologize to all the lobsters around the world for this oversight.
And to make it so bad, I order lobster mac and cheese with extra lobster.
Hold the mac and cheese. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening on ESPN Radio, for watching on ESPN2 and ESPN News, and subscribing.
Thank you
To the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
You're far too kind.
We are